Islamic lovelies, hope you are well. So today I will cover this question, or at least this problem that a lot of sisters face when it comes to family members or close friends even, right? So, and I struggled with this for a long time up until I was in my late 20s. Well, that's when I started to enforce boundaries, and even then I struggled with one or two people up until just a couple of years ago actually. So and that was something I had to work on at a deeper level to get rid of that, and I'll probably go into that if you do want details on that and how I overcame. You can always reach out to me. I do coach and train a lot of women to manage their own emotions, and then if they want to get trained, they can train and coach themselves and their loved ones and go out there and do it professionally as well. And again, if you want details on that, you can always reach out to me. So I did a story insight, you can say, on a situation that I had a little bit of a conflict around enforcing boundaries. And one sister said, I struggle, how do you do it? So I voice noted her briefly. So I will be doing this specifically for her as well, and anybody else that needs this as well. So, we can enforce boundaries respectfully. And what we generally do is, because most of us, at least my age, the millennials, and maybe a little bit before that as well, we were not brought up with Islamic values. We were brought up with a lot of cultural values, and it was mostly, pleasing people, keeping the tribe together, making sure we are always together, and then for that we have to do what other people say and therefore do themselves, and we don't do what other people don't want us to do. It was mainly around that. Like, people would reject love marriages in those times because arranged marriages are the best. Keep it in the family, keep the property in the family, all those things that had nothing to do with deen. So when you step out of those cultural humanistic things, right, it's nafsi. I don't even want to call it cultural, because it's not just South Asian, it's pretty much in a lot of other cultures as well. When you get out of that, you look at deen, you look at Islam and what we're supposed to be doing, it is so much more empowering than what we've been brought up to know. So I want to tell you first what I do when it comes to enforcing boundaries. So I would first look at the relation that I'm dealing with here, right? Because that will give me insights as to how I am to communicate with them. So if it's my mom, my parents, if it's my elder relative, if it's my sibling who's older, or if it's my sibling that's younger, or it's my daughters or children, or it's my husband, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how does Allah want me to communicate with them? That would be my first go-to information I would gather, right? Because it's all different with all your family members. It's not the same. Your rights over your parents are different to your rights over your spouse. Your rights over your children are different to your rights over your siblings. And everyone's got their own space and their own level of energy that I will be required to give, right? Like for parents, you're not even allowed to do uf to your mother. You're not allowed to do uf to your mother. Elders, you're supposed to respect them no matter what. You're meant to respect them within your higher values, right? Obviously, when it comes to certain things, which I don't go into, you don't have to, but when it comes to generally day-to-day things, you do respect them. So you can say what you need to say respectfully, right? But with parents, again, you can't say what you need to say respectfully in the best way, with the right tone of voice, and enforce that. You may need to say something that may have not been passed on or taken a few times, but it's your job to enforce boundaries. You need to articulate your boundaries clearly yourself. If you don't, then that's when unhealthy arguments happen. That's when resentment builds up in relationships, and then you end up expecting those relationships to, oh gosh, she's going to come and do this and this, right? It just stacks up because the mind remembers the previous times they pushed your boundaries, right? And then again, resentment builds up, and that's bad for us, because if we're building up resentment, what we're doing, we're not internally we're not thinking good of that other person. There's an outward behavior and there's an inward behavior. We need to check both. How are we feeling towards that person? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said you need to, you know, Prophet said you need to feel, what is it? You need to think the best of your fellow brother. You need to want what you want for yourself for your fellow brother in Islam, right? Or sister in Islam. So how can you feel that if there's internal resentment, right? Yes, they may have not, you know, followed what you want them to follow. Maybe you need to articulate your boundaries in more detail, in more clearly to them, right? Maybe you need to do it a few times, and then they'll eventually get it, right? So when you do this, what you're doing is you're also looking at your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you're doing what Allah wants you to do, right? So you've gone and researched, okay, how do I need to behave towards my parents? How do I need to behave towards my siblings? What rights do they have over me? And then you act in accordance, and then you leave it to Allah. You do what you need to do between people, and Allah will deal with the people, right? So let me give you my example. I had one relative, I have one family member. I don't like to say who specifically because my family do watch my videos. I don't want to get them to figure out who it was, as much as I can avoid it, because at the end of the day it's for me to share my own learnings. You know, I do life coaching, personal coaching, so when I am actively reflecting on the spot, doing things, I am living what I teach rather than just teaching and then not doing it myself. So I like to give examples as well, because that's, if I demonstrated what I'm teaching, then I can say it works. Okay, so one family member who so with regards to my children, so I know what my rights are over my children. I am fully, up until the age of adulthood or near enough when they, you know, past puberty, I am responsible for them. I am responsible for teaching them the right etiquettes, the everything, to get them to live as the best Muslims they can be, humans, right? Best humans they can be. And for that reason, I have to make certain choices. Like, I homeschool them. I limit their time to TV or, you know, or stuff on media, mainstream media. I only let them watch certain things. I only let them have certain, company, because I know the effect of communication has on people. You are who you hang around with. You are what you read. And I check what they read. So as much as I can, I do a lot of checking over them, because I know the influence everything has on us, right? I've learned it, I've studied it. We pick up our values before we age 7, right? And they come from what we read, what we watch, who we talk to, not just our parents. So I'm really specific about this, as much as I can be. So I am doing what's in my control, right? So that's in my control. What they watch, you know, I have a password in the iPad. I don't have YouTube on there, and the only time they watch YouTube is when I know what they're watching. Again, like I said, I do what I can control, right? So consciously, whatever I can do. So one relative was, you know, getting out of that, my capacity. They were like, well, I would love to take my daughters out here and there, and I homeschool them. And so we've got a certain structure of homeschooling in terms of they get up at a certain time, and they wanted to take them out 2-3 times a week. And I said, that's too much, right? Because I know what happens in that place as well. It's not really aligned to our values. So once a week is fine. So I had to articulate these boundaries to that person. And I had to do it a few times before it got into their system, right? They kept asking, can I take them out today? Can I take them out today? Can I do this? Can I do that? And it was me who had to repeat it and tell them, no, this is how it is. And I did it really respectfully, because this person is also my elder, right? And they don't have to see them more than once a week. Yeah, but once a week is fine, because it's a healthy time. They have 2 hours, 3 hours with them, and that's enough. So because I am responsible for my kids, and Allah will put me accountable on the day of judgment to them, I have to make these decisions. And because that's so high up for me, I don't care what their opinions are. They may think, oh, she's so controlling, she's so harsh. Maybe that could be something they think. Although I don't mind read, but this is what stops us from enforcing our boundaries. What other people think, right? You have to put Allah first. You have to put, what does Allah want from me? How does Allah would want me to manage my family, my kids, myself, my spouse, my marriage, everything? And then you go and decide. and keep on clearly articulating your boundaries. And again, you start with speaking respectfully. And if you have to be a little bit firm, and you can be firm in terms of the relationship that you're dealing with, obviously if it's your parents, you may not need, you may not, I wouldn't recommend you do that, because it comes on to you. Just keep on saying respectfully, because that's your right on them. And leave it to Allah. Ya Allah, this is what I've done. This is what you said to me, to be respectful to parents. I am being respectful to my parents, if it is parents, for example. I've articulated it several times. Guide them to follow. Guide them to follow. I've got the clear intentions, sincere intentions. I want the best for me, for my family, and guide them to follow this for me, because you're the one that changes hearts. You are God. You're the one that changes hearts. And when I do this, oh my goodness, it works. It works, alhamdulillah. It may take a few weeks, maybe months, but it always works. But it's my job to articulate and educate people, educate my family on how to have a relationship with me. This sounds weird, right? Even me saying it, it sounds like, wow. Yeah, you have to teach your spouse how to be with you. You have to enforce those boundaries. Nobody knows how to be your spouse. I'm sure they've never married someone like you before, right? No one knows how to be your brother or sister or mother-in-law or father-in-law. You have to teach them, and you do it respectfully within the alignment of what Allah wants us. So that's what I would say, and we can be fair, yeah, because you have to look after yourself. Your body has a right over you. Your relationships have a right over you. So you have to maintain those boundaries. You have to do it, because that way then they know what to do, and you know what to do. It's fair, right? They want time. So for example, this situation that I was with a relative, they wanted time with the girls, and I said, okay, what's the win here? What's fair here? Once a week is fair, right? No more than that. So go with what's fair, what's a win for you and a win for them. And that's it. I hope this was useful, and I will catch you in the next video.